And good afternoon. You're listening to Ken Hudnall. This is the Ken Hudnall Show. Coming to you from our studios right here in exciting El Paso, Texas. Gateway to the Old West and the most haunted city in the country. Well, today is December 24th, 358th day of the year. Just 7 days remain to the year's over with. It's also one of the most magical days of the year. It's Christmas Eve. Holidays and observances. National Eggnog Day. Christmas Book Flood. Last Minute Shoppers Day. And of course, as I said, it's Christmas Eve, the night before Christmas. Carols by Candlelight. Zagreb Advent. Christmas Bird Count Week. And of course, Advent and Artes Mundi. And of course, Blue Christmas. While most people are at home opening presents, emergency workers are on duty, ensuring the safety of the community over the holidays. Famous people born on this date: Howard Hughes, Ava Gardner, Kate Spade, and Ryan Seacrest. Well, let's see what stories we have in the news. Well, the New York driver's license law for undocumented residents has survived a DOJ challenge. Judge, one of God's anointed, don't you know, gives a green light to controversial New York driver's license law in a real blow to the Trump administration's efforts. This decision was made yesterday, cleared the way for New York's so-called green light law, ruling against the Trump administration's effort to block the state from giving people driver's licenses without requiring proof that they're in the U.S. legally. The U.S. District Judge Ann Undersea found the Justice Department would sue New York Governor Kathy Hochul and State Attorney General Letitia James in February has failed to prove its claims that the state law sought to invalidate federal law, or that the measure unlawfully regulates or unlawfully discriminates against the federal government. Well, this judge, who the moment she put on that robe became smarter than anybody else, decided that the rights of the undocumented immigrants are more important than the rights of American citizens to be safe in their own country. Well, CBS didn't include White House statement about angel parents in the CCOT segment on 60 Minutes. The White House sent CBS a statement it didn't use for the 60-minute CCOT segment that was delayed by network editor-in-chief Barry Weiss, in which it called on the show to amplify stories about angel parents. 60 Minutes finalized its Inside CCOT report last Thursday. CBS sent the White House a request for a comment. White House spokesman responded within a few hours. And unfortunately, that quote wasn't included in the 60 Minutes report. So you need to judge for yourself whether or not it should have been included. CNN media analyst Brian Stelter wrote on X on yesterday. The statement from the White House spokesperson Abigail Jackson said, according to the New York Times, 60 Minutes should spend their time and energy amplifying the stories about angel parents whose innocent American children have tragically been murdered by vicious illegal aliens President Trump is trying to remove from the country. Fox News reached out to CBS and the White House for comment. And hours before Inside CCOT was set to air on Sunday, 60 Minutes released a statement saying that the segment was being delayed and it was determined it needed additional reporting. The segment, which was leaked online after airing in Canada, features correspondent Sharon Alfonsi interviewing Venezuelan deportees who were sent to the El Salvador's maximum security prison after being deported by the Trump administration. Well, Fox News Digital reported that CBS News editor-in-chief Barry Weiss made the decision to delay that segment after determining that while the interviews in the segment were powerful, the story ultimately did not advance the ball and really wasn't ready for airing. Well, text after Anna Kempner's mysterious cruise ship death showed the family scrambling to clamp down on information about the dead girl. Newly released court records shed additional light on how a family responded after the death of the 18-year-old Anna Kempner. She was found dead on board a Carnival cruise ship last month. She was wrapped up in a blanket and stuffed under a bed. According to documents obtained by Fox News Orlando, text messages exchanged after her death showed the family's concern about limiting information shared publicly and keeping their 16-year-old son's name out of the media. Messages were submitted as exhibits in an ongoing family court case and include exchanges that began within roughly a day of her body being found. Messages also emphasized the family's position that the teen doesn't remember events surrounding the girl's death. If you remember, she was found dead November 7th in her cabin on board the Carnival Horizon, which returned to Port Miami 2 days later. Federal authorities boarded the ship when it got back and began collecting evidence. Officials said she died from mechanical asphyxiation. They mean she was deprived of oxygen. No suspect has been publicly named in the case. Text exchanges between Anna's stepmother, Chantel Kempner, and her ex-husband show conversations that began the evening of November 8th, which was about a day after Anna's body was discovered. Well, clearly, everybody has something to hide. Well, Bukele challenges Hillary Clinton to take El Salvador's entire prison population after criticism. El Salvadoran President Nayib Bukele responded to allegations by former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton about the conditions at the Terrorism Confinement Center. That's that country's maximum security prison, which has received migrants deported from the U.S. Bukele was responding to a post on X by Clinton. It was accompanied by an 11-minute video of the PBS Frontline documentary entitled Surviving CCOT. Curious to learn about CCOT, she wrote? Here, Juan and Andre and Wilma share firsthand how the Trump administration branded them as gang members without any evidence and deported them to the brutal El Salvadoran prison. Well, that short documentary told the story of three Venezuelan men, Juan Jose Ramos Ramos and Andre Blanco Bonilla and Vilma Vega Sandia, who were reported by the Trump administration to CCOT. All three men are branded by the U.S. government as trendy Aragua gang members, which they deny. And in response, Bukele said his country is ready to cooperate with Clinton if Clinton thinks people have been tortured in the notorious prison that houses many of the country's gang members and migrants deported from the U.S. We're willing to release our entire prison population, including all the gang leaders and all those described as political prisoners, to any country willing to take them, the president wrote. And the condition is straightforward. Has to be everybody. So open up your home, Hillary Clinton, and get ready to take all those gang members. Well, another interesting story about a very famous movie. It's a Wonderful Life. The individual that wrote this segment said, believe it or not, they just watched It's a Wonderful Life all the way through for the first time. And if you're looking for a Christmas movie that reminds you of what the holiday is actually about, this is said to be the one to watch. About 30 minutes in, her mother said, this isn't really a Christmas movie. Well, the author of the segment, whose name was Tom Ebelinki, agreed. There were no elves, no lights, no Christmas trees. I mean, the guy who wears a different wacky Christmas shirt every day in December is how the author of the segment describes himself. Loves that stuff and always will, but the movie has a deeper meaning. And if his mother hadn't fallen asleep shortly after that, she would have probably agreed. It's a story of George Bailey, about gratitude for God's blessings and learning to trust Him, especially when life doesn't go the way you think it ought to. Humanity's faltering trust in God during the many trials of the Old Testament revealed the need for what God had long promised, Jesus coming from heaven to the manger, as we see in our Christmas displays, to die for our sins and restore our relationship with God and renew our trust in a greater plan. Now, that film captures just how powerful that kind of trust can be. Well, a man known as the Christmas lawyer went to war with an HOA and received a windfall and spent it on holiday cheer. He's facing the possibility of owing a large amount of money over a lawsuit he previously won over a festive Christmas display that was also helping raise money for childhood cancer. Supreme Court kicked the case to the appellate court, and that's when everything turned around. Idaho lawyer Jeremy Morris spoke to Fox News about his staged elaborate holiday display in defiance of his former homeowners association had led to a protracted legal battle. The case was overturned by the judge after he previously awarded $75,000 in 2019. He then appealed to the Ninth Circuit in 2020 before his saga got all the way to the Supreme Court. When the case reached the Supreme Court, it was kicked back to the appellate court, and the HOA reached a settlement, leaving more triumphant. The HOA ended up paying significantly more, ironically, than the jury awarded many years ago. The jury awarded $75,000 in 2019. They actually settled for a lot more than $75,000, he said. Instead of going through another trial, there was a mediation because the HOA realized Morris would keep appealing. And according to Morris, the HOA, which he calls Grinches, undoubtedly paid over $1 million in attorney's fees to overturn that $75,000 verdict over the years. That resulted in paying Morris more than the jury awarded him. And what's he doing with the money? Well, as I said, spreading even more Christmas cheer and not letting the Grinches stop it. He's buying a lot more Christmas lights and enjoying it every time he screws in a light bulb. And when he does that, he thinks about his HOA and their effort to shut down Christmas. Well, Prince William's eager to ditch outdated royal Christmas traditions as King Charles resists the change. He wants to modernize Christmas at the palace. Claim was made by royal commentator and broadcaster Neil Sean. Following reports, the Prince of Wales wants to eliminate what some consider a dated royal holiday tradition once he becomes king. Every year, the royals truly let their hair down and show off their sense of humor while having a gentle dig at each other out of the gaze of the public domain. Every Christmas Eve, the famous trestle table set up, and depending on your seniority, you get to go up and get your Christmas present. They're £1 and £5 joke presents. My idea started by Queen Elizabeth II. According to the recent report, Prince William wants to get rid of that tradition because he believes it's forced. But the report's wrong. What William wants to do is include more participation from palace staff where they could mingle. According to what a staff revealed, Prince William enjoys the informal gathering hosted by Princess Catherine's family and wants to move in that direction. More family-oriented, less formal, and less about seniority. Well, it'll be interesting to see. They're talking about letting their hair down, and most of them don't have hair. Well, according to Bishop Robert Barron, there's a mysterious fourth Christmas story of heaven battling evil. There are three well-known accounts of Christmas in the New Testament. There's St. John's austerely metaphysical version. The Word became flesh and dwelt among us, and got the more narratively dense tellings of the Gospels of Matthew and Luke. Unique to Matthew is a reference to the Bethlehem star, the massacre of the innocents, and the visit of the Magi. And peculiar to Luke are mentions of the census, the stable, and the swaddling clothes, the shepherds, and the angels. And most of us, when we imagine or depict Christmas, manage to mash together Luke's and Matthew's renderings. But there's actually a fourth Christmas story in the New Testament, though that's rarely appreciated. Found in the 12th chapter of the book of Revelation, it makes no reference to shepherds or magi or swaddling clothes, but it does talk about a birth and a dragon. The portrayal of Christmas in the Revelation is not abstractly metaphysical, and it's not straightforwardly narrative either. It's highly symbolic and apocalyptic. You might say it's the view of Christmas from God's perspective, from the highest possible point of vantage. Chapter 12 of the book of Revelation starts out, a great portent appeared in heaven, a woman clothed with the sun and with the moon under her feet, on her head a crown of 12 stars. Catholic interpreters have consistently read this figure as the Virgin Mary, and this is confirmed by what comes next. She was pregnant, was crying out in birth pangs and the agony of giving birth. It's the Blessed Mother summing up in her person the whole history of Israel, hence the 12 stars, suggestive of the 12 tribes, about to deliver the long-awaited Messiah. But then they hear of an opponent, a cosmic foil. Another portent appeared in heaven. The great red dragon with 7 heads and 10 horns. The purpose of this fearsome beast was entirely malevolent. The dragon stood before the woman who was about to bear a child, so he might devour her child as soon as it was born. When we're meant to see something of extraordinary significance in this awful threat, namely the arrival of the Son of God, is met with enormous resistance by the dark and fallen spiritual powers. And Jesus, of course, represents God's rescue operation, his attempt to set right his fallen creation. If you thoroughly study the Bible, you get a lot more methods of looking at things that we don't normally discuss openly. Well, there's a family who warned a nonprofit not to free a repeat offender who, after the nonprofit put up the bail for the repeat offender, he allegedly killed a man a few days later. The Bail Project paid for a repeat offender's release from jail over his family's objections, and he's now accused of killing somebody just days later. Donnie Allen allegedly murdered 27-year-old Benjamin McComas at the Cleveland's light rail station about 7:30 p.m. on Sunday, December 14th, according to Fox 8. Allen was charged with aggravated murder, aggravated robbery, and felonious assault and having weapons while under disability. Court records reviewed by Fox News show Allen was charged with drug possession, breaking and entering, vandalism, obstructing official business, possessing criminal tools in relation to a separate incident at the Cleveland Light Rail Station December the 4th. While his bond was initially set at $15,000, another one of God's anointed, Judge Joy Kennedy, lowered it to $5,000 on December 8th. The Bail Project, a nonprofit, then provided $500 for Allen to be bonded out of Cuyahoga County Jail. 5 days later, he was arrested for the murder of McComas. See, that's the problem. A lot of these left-leaning individuals who mean well, certainly, don't understand that sometimes a criminal is a criminal. Well, new White House data sees lower, that shows that conservative states see lower inflation than liberal ones nationwide. White House analysis finds energy and transportation costs drive up much of the gap between regions. An analysis from the White House Council of Economic Advisors finds inflation has been lower in conservative-led states than in liberal-led states over the past year, with the largest gaps in energy and transportation costs. Viewed by Fox Business, analysis draws on year-over-year consumer price index information from the Bureau of Labor Statistics through November 2025. Found inflation averaging 2.5% in conservative-led states versus 3% in liberal-led states. And because there's no official state-level CPI, the CEA uses regional inflation data and adjusted it based on each state's population. And the inflation divide widens at the city level, with metro areas and conservative states seeing 1.9% year-over-year inflation versus 3% in metro areas located in liberal states. Well, keep in mind, a lot of the liberal states are also what refer to themselves as sanctuary states, and they tax all the citizens to take care of those that come illegally because they feel that that's what they need to do. Well, there are 6 things you should know about pancreatic cancer after a former senator gets a diagnosis. Former U.S. Senator Ben Sasse of Nebraska announced this week he's been diagnosed with metastatic stage 4 pancreatic cancer. Calls that disease a death sentence in a message posted on X. He's 53, said the cancer is spread, and acknowledged he has less time than he'd prefer, although he also mentioned recent scientific advances in his intention to pursue treatment. He said he's not going down without a fight. One subpart of God's grace is found in the jaw-dropping advances science has made in the past few years in immunotherapy and more. Pancreatic cancer is known to be one of the deadliest forms of cancer, with ongoing research efforts aiming to improve outcomes. Now, there's 6 key things to know, according to the former senator. Number 1, pancreatic cancer is often diagnosed late and it's highly deadly. It's notoriously aggressive and difficult to treat, according to the American Cancer Society. New immunotherapies are showing early promise. Researchers at UCLA report progress on an experimental off-the-shelf cell-based immunotherapy designed to attack pancreatic cancer. In mouse studies, the therapy slowed tumor growth, extended survival, and remained effective even after the cancer spread to other organs, because it can spread to the liver and the lungs. Diet and gut health also affect treatment recovery. Separate research from the Massachusetts Institute of Technology suggested that the amino acid cysteine could help the gut heal after cancer treatments such as chemotherapy and radiation. Alcohol and lifestyle factors also raise cancer risk. Recent research published in PLOS Medicine by the International Agency for Research on Cancer found that the alcohol consumption is associated with an increased risk of pancreatic cancer. Symptoms are often subtle and easily missed. When symptoms do occur, they can include abdominal pain that spreads to the sides or the back, loss of appetite, and unexplained weight loss. That's according to the Mayo Clinic. And some patients develop jaundice, yellowing of the skin, and whites of the eyes, along with a light color or floating stools, dark urine, and itching. And number 6, age, genetics, and health conditions can raise the risk. Pancreatic cancer risk is influenced by a combination of genetic, medical, and lifestyle factors. The disease becomes more likely with age, and men are slightly more susceptible, according to the ACS. Those with a family history or inherited genetic mutation also have a higher risk, as do people with type 2 diabetes, obesity, and lack of physical activities. Well, Tom Brady's revealed why brutal roast jokes didn't bother him. He took on one of the biggest challenges of his post-playing career in 2024 and invited comedians and celebrities and his friends to roast him in front of the world. He recalled doing a show and an appearance on the big podcast with Shaq, saying he wasn't mad over the jokes that were directed at him. He said he knew what he was getting himself into and talked about doing the event 3 years earlier with Jeff Ross. He said he wasn't mad because he thinks like a lot of people, likes being made fun of, because when they make fun of you, you know they're comfortable with you. They're comfortable with you. If they make fun of you, then you know you're really friends. Well, maybe yes, maybe no. Sometimes they make fun of you because they don't like you as well. Well, we've talked about a lot of strange topics over the past few shows. There's been a lot of conspiracy theories about secret underground bases and a lot of Illuminati symbolism in the media. The ocean covers most of our planet. So a lot of it remains unexplored. And it's no surprise that conspiracy ideas flourish about what might be hidden beneath the waves. And one common claim is that they're secret bases operated either by the government or by aliens or by other shadowy groups. And these secret bases are said to exist in these watery depths far from prying eyes. Meanwhile, on the surface, some say we're being bombarded by subtle signs from powerful organizations who want to shape our thoughts. And this brings us around to our second topic, Illuminati symbolism hidden in the media. There's long been theories that hidden groups have placed coded messages in films and music videos and ads to show their influence, or maybe this is simply imaginative interpretation. So we're going to look at some of these themes and see why they persist. Well, first you have to ask yourself why these hidden bases are said to be underwater. Conspiracies about hidden bases often revolve around remote deserts or mountains, but the ocean's even more inaccessible. Sonar and submarines can't easily search every trench and every cavern. And if a group wanted to hide advanced technology or covert operations, doing so underwater might seem ideal. Some suspect governments test new weapons and keep aliens there, or store nuclear arsenals in these undersea facilities. Well, there are actually real naval operations going on. It's no secret navies around the world have submarine bases, undersea listening posts. Strategic choke points in certain oceans are monitored by hydrophones to track foreign submarines. And while these are known to exist, they've fueled rumors about more elaborate projects. Some people go even further, claiming entire communities or cities are built in the ocean, on the ocean floor. And these might belong to top secret military groups or breakaway civilizations with technology beyond public knowledge. No credible evidence supports these large-scale habitats, but the idea remains popular in conspiracy circles. A subset of ufologists suggest that unidentified flying objects might actually be USOs, unidentified submerged objects. Witnesses describe lights or craft emerging from the water. Believers propose that aliens keep bases under the sea to avoid detection. And sites such as off the coast of California or near Puerto Rico's Trench are often named in these claims, with individuals reporting strange submarine sightings or anomalies on sonar. Some conspiracy theories tie undersea bases to polar regions, saying that secret Nazi bases or advanced research stations exist under the ice. I just came out with a new book about that. You can find it on Amazon Kindle. Look under Ken Hudnall. They argue that warmer water under ice shelves could hide entire underground lakes or tunnels, and scientists do study subglacial lakes, but large hidden bases remain in the realm of speculation. Historical documents show Nazis did explore Antarctica, yet mainstream historians emphasize they found little practical use there. There's long been a story about the Nazi Base 211, said to exist in a cavern in Antarctica. Real-world events like cut undersea internet cables have spurred theories about sabotage or hidden conflicts. People wonder if these cables accidentally hit by fishing nets or submarines, or if it's deliberate sabotage from a covert undersea station. Security experts typically blame normal accidents or known espionage actions, not hidden bases. But each new event reignites speculation. Building large bases under deep ocean pressure is extremely difficult. The cost and technical demands would be enormous. If hundreds or thousands of people live in a submerged facility, how would they get food and air and maintenance without anybody noticing? Well, large undertakings require a big workforce, and leaks are likely. While some smaller secret projects remain hidden for a while, entire undersea cities would be hard to conceal indefinitely. Still, there are believers who insist that advanced technology may be gleaned from alien craft to reverse engineering make it all possible. They see the ocean as a perfect cover for covert expansions or alliances between governments and extraterrestrial beings. The notion of hidden structures might exist in unexplored marine trenches remains a staple in certain conspiracy communities. And from these hidden undersea bases, let's talk about the Illuminati symbolism said to be seen in media. The Illuminati is rumored to be a secret society that controls major world events. Some say they place symbols in plain sight, on currency, and in music videos and in movies and corporate logos. They do that to show their power to subtly influence viewers. These clues are thought to condition the public to accept the Illuminati's agenda without realizing it. Well, among popular symbols cited, we have the all-seeing eye. A single eye, often inside a triangle or a pyramid shape, has been interpreted as the eye of providence. Believers say it appears on the U.S. dollar bill and in pop culture as signal Illuminati presence. And triangles are seen as references to the pyramid symbol. In music videos, whenever an artist forms a triangular hand sign or stands in front of a triangular backdrop, some folks interpret that as an Illuminati nod. And we also have goat or horn figures linked to Baphomet, a symbol used historically in a cult context. If a star performer wears horns or references goats, conspiracists might call it an Illuminati message. And obelisk are also another symbol. Tall, four-sided monuments like the Washington Monument are said by some to be phallic or occult symbols. Modern architecture that uses obelisks or pillars is occasionally accused of being Illuminati-related. And a major part of Illuminati symbolism theories focuses on pop stars, singers, and rappers or actors who allegedly display these signs. Conspiracy believers point to album covers with pyramid motifs, stage costumes with eye patterns, or lyrics hinting at hidden power. They argue that popular artists have either sold their souls for fame or are pawns spreading the group's messages. And some examples people mention include specific performances at large award shows or specific music video scenes. And then, of course, there are symbols hidden in corporate logos. Many company logos feature shapes that can be read as triangles or eyes or even hidden numbers. Critics of the Illuminati theory say that the geometric shapes are common in design. For example, a pyramid shape can be visually appealing or represent stability. But believers see these repetitions as part of a bigger scheme to push hidden messages or mark brand loyalty to secret elites. Certain filmmakers or studios have become targets of Illuminati accusations. Scenes with pyramid imagery or one-eyed close-ups might spark online threads analyzing each frame. The arguments often revolve around the idea that directors are either giving homage to an occult group or that the groups demand these scenes as proof of loyalty. Skeptics argue that reusing the eye shots, a common filmmaking technique in a triangular shape, can be simple set design choices. Now, there are a number of reasons for these beliefs. Patterns and pareidolia. People naturally look for patterns, and seeing a repeated shape might confirm to some that a conspiracy is real. And then, of course, there's the basic mistrust of the media. If audiences suspect large companies or studios are manipulative, they may interpret the design choices as deliberate signals rather than artistic or commercial decisions. Now, there is a historical mystery involved in all this. There was a real Bavarian Illuminati. It was said to be a short-lived group in the 18th century. Modern conspiracy culture turned it into a near mythical secret society. Tying symbols to it in modern media keeps the story alive, of course. And some celebrities play along, making references to the Illuminati or using eye imagery to spark talk. Now, on the one hand, this could be for publicity or as a joke. Fans, though, take it seriously, fueling the cycle. And people who doubt Illuminati symbolism arguments note that design motifs often repeat because they're visually striking, not because of any hidden agendas. They add that many cultural industries are driven by profit, not by secret societies. If a music video uses a triangle and eye image, it may just be a fashion trend or an attempt to evoke mystery. No confirmed insiders has come forward yet to reveal an actual directive from an Illuminati group demanding symbolic placement. You know, some folks tie Illuminati symbolism to broader claims about brainwashing. They say repeated symbols or messages in media can hypnotize the public into supporting certain policies, buying certain products, or worshiping false idols. While advertising and propaganda do seek to influence behavior, linking every symbolic change to or shape to a single hidden group as a larger elite. Psychologists mention that subliminal messages can have minimal short-term effects, but there's little proof of massive mind control via simple geometric signs. Now, you might wonder how secret ocean bases and Illuminati symbols in media converge. Well, in the conspiracy world, it's common to link disparate topics, maybe referring to hidden powers. Both undersea bases and Illuminati symbolism suggest powerful entities working out of the public eye. One is physically hidden beneath the sea, and the other is camouflaged in plain sight through subtle imagery. There's also theories of advanced technology and influence. Undersea bases might house unknown tech or alien alliances, while Illuminati symbolism hints at control over mass communication. In either scenario, the average person remains unaware of the real forces shaping the world. And some say the same group controlling undersea facilities also orchestrates media symbolism, aiming to guide humanity toward a planned future or to keep us distracted while real plans unfold. And this can include implementing a new world order or forging a future alliance with non-human entities. Critics argue these connections are leaps of logic with no solid foundation, an attempt to unify all conspiracies into one mega story. But for real believers, each puzzle piece helps explain the global scale of hidden operations. A lot of conspiracists believe that deep in the oceans lie undiscovered or covertly built complexes. These could belong to governments, secret societies, or even aliens. And the sea's vastness and difficulty to explore make such claims hard to fully disprove. But mainstream science has not found any serious evidence of large-scale hidden facilities. But you have to ask yourself, if they did find it, would they reveal it? Illuminati symbolism in the media has become another issue. It's a prominent theme that a secret elite group hides messages in popular entertainment, corporate logos, and architecture. Common symbols include the all-seeing eye and pyramids, and while skeptics see more the fact that it's mere coincidences to design choices, believers argue that repeated patterns reveal behind-the-scenes influence. And both sets of conspiracies revolve around the belief that major power structures operate without public knowledge. Whether it's advanced stations for far beneath the waves or coded signals in movies, the idea is that we, the masses, remain uninformed while hidden forces control technology, culture, or even both. Well, the biggest question for critics is, where's the proof? Large underwater bases would require enormous resources and supply lines. And similarly, thousands of media creators producing Illuminati imagery would need strict secrecy. No conclusive whistleblowers have emerged with undeniable evidence. It's lack of direct proof combined with simpler explanations, such as shapes used for aesthetic reasons, real submarine bases for normal military tasks, leads most experts to doubt these theories' grandest claims. And despite skepticism, these ideas do remain popular. The ocean's mystery, fear of government cover-ups, and the sense that modern media pushes questionable messages keep conspiracies thriving. And for some, these concepts add excitement or meaning to daily life. For others, they reflect a deep mistrust of official explanations. Either way, talk about undersea bases and Illuminati symbolism does continue, woven into the broader tapestry of hidden knowledge conspiracies. And in a world where so much is unknown beneath the waves and where entertainment can indeed shape minds, these conspiracies serve as a reminder of how easily we blend real curiosities with speculative leaps. And whether real or imagined, the notion of a hidden power at work, be it underwater or in our favorite music videos, shapes how many view the world's complexities. Well, in addition to Illuminati symbolism, there's also been stories about subliminal messages and hidden codes being found in media. Influencing people without them realizing it. That's the promise and the fear behind subliminal messages. Some say advertisers use them to push products. Others believe governments or secret groups slip them into media and sway opinions, shape consumer habits, or even alter beliefs. Alongside subliminal tactics, there's the idea of hidden codes, secret messages or ciphers put in everyday items, official documents, or public art. And the question becomes, could these codes be from ancient secret societies, or are they modern ways to pass instructions without the public noticing? I remember there was a study done a number of years ago in regard to movies. They put hidden messages in a lot of movies that you were thirsty and needed to go get something from the snack bar. And during pauses in the film, in one particular case, the report showed that the snack bar sold out 2 or 3 times over because of the movie. Well, we're going to talk at what subliminal messages are supposed to be, whether they really work, and how the idea grew so powerful. Then we'll see how people look for hidden codes in various places, like currencies and famous paintings or city layouts, believing there's a deeper layer to daily life. While skeptics argue that these claims are exaggerated or even unproven, the fascination with unseen forces does remain strong. So we're going to explore these topics and see how they connect to broader concerns about manipulation and conspiracy and secrecy. So the first question, a very basic question, what are subliminal messages? Well, subliminal means below the threshold of conscious awareness. Subliminal message is any signal, image, or phrase that's shown so briefly and so faintly that you don't really consciously register it, but it might affect thinking at a subconscious level. For instance, a single frame with the word buy flashed into a film might be too quick for the eye to catch, but the brain might still record it. Some claim this can nudge people to purchase items or form certain opinions. Well, the one I was referring to earlier, James Vickery's theater study in the 50s. Vickery claimed he inserted messages like drink Coca-Cola and hungry, eat popcorn into a movie at a cinema. And according to him, sales of those items rose significantly. This caused a stir with the public and media, worried that minds were being controlled without permission. But Vickery later admitted the fabricator were exaggerating the results. But that doesn't mean he didn't get such results. The possibility of brainwashing through hidden advertising led to debates about banning subliminal ads. And some countries actually passed rules or guidelines about it. And even though Vickery's study turned out to be weakly supported, that concept did stick in the public consciousness. Scientists have tested whether quick flashes or mask images can shift attitudes. Some experiments show small effects, such as influencing a person's choice between 2 snacks if one snack's name was flashed subliminally. Now, these effects are normally short-lived and require very controlled conditions. Conspiracy believers see any effect as proof that subtle manipulation is real and possible. Skeptics say that the real-world impact is tiny compared to the hype. Well, there's been a lot of subliminal messages in music and film. In the 1980s, some religious groups claimed that rock songs had hidden messages when you play them backward, telling people to commit sinful acts. Bands like Led Zeppelin and Judas Priest and others were at the center of these accusations. Courts examined some cases, finding any backward words often sounded like gibberish and might be coincidental. Then you've got frame inserts in movies. Flashing a brand name or a phrase in 1 or 2 frames is rarely used today for ads due to legal and ethical concerns. Still, conspiracy theorists think large studios or secret groups might embed them for political and ideological reasons. In practice, modern marketing rarely uses such direct subliminal ads because it's widely considered ineffective. The fear is that subliminal messages can override free will or shape big decisions. Academic consensus suggests that while subconscious cues can prime thoughts or feelings slightly, they don't lead to absolute control or major behavioral changes. People are influenced by many factors: culture, personal preferences, past experiences, so a split-second phrase is unlikely to drastically alter a person's choices. However, the notion that we could be manipulated without knowing remains a concern, driving ongoing suspicion of the media. Well, there's a number of reasons why people believe this particular conspiracy theory. First and foremost is distrust of advertising. It already pushes people to buy things. Subliminal messages is seen as the next step, crossing a line into unethical territory. And of course, there's the fear of hidden agendas. If a government or a powerful group wants to persuade the public, inserting unnoticeable words or images might be more effective than open propaganda. And there's mystique and drama, of course. The idea that a single flash can implant an idea is both dramatic and alarming, making for attention-grabbing stories. And there are anecdotal reports that support these ideas. Some individuals swear they felt urges or noticed changes in mood after seeing certain videos or hearing certain songs. And there's a number of real-life examples. Advertising sex and ice cubes. Well-known rumor claims that ads sometimes embed the letters SCX and ice cubes are in the shape of background images to arouse attention subconsciously. While these are questionable ad designs, it's not clear whether the final images are deliberate or accidental patterns. The human brain does look for patterns. Excuse me. Some conspiracists say that campaigns use subliminal techniques like quickly showing an opponent's face with negative words. And officially, such tactics are rare, discouraged, and if discovered, they do create scandals. Another area is the claim that certain logos use negative space or illusions to hide words. Conspiracy believers see it as a method of covert persuasion. Designers often say these are artistic flourishes, not hidden mind control signals. And those who doubt the broad impact of subliminal messages point to the fleeting nature of subconscious cues. They say they have a consistent and considerable effect. Messages have to be repeated or reinforced in a more direct way. They also note that people's conscious decisions, social environment, and personal taste matter more than a quick hidden flash on a screen. And overall, psychologists remain cautious in concluding that subliminal messages can steer entire populations. Nevertheless, the concept endures in conspiracies and echoing concerns we might not fully control our own thoughts. Well, there's also been a lot of discussions about hidden codes, and they can be anything from ciphers and old manuscripts to encoded references and brand slogans. It might be placed deliberately or arise from chance patterns. Conspiracy-minded individuals often look for these codes in official documents, architecture, or everyday products. They believe they reveal secret knowledge or instructions. Among the examples that are normally given, the Voynich manuscript is usually top on anybody's list. It's a mysterious illustrated book from medieval times written in an unknown script. Some think it hides ancient knowledge or instructions for secret societies. Scholars suspect it's either a cipher or an invented language, but nobody's really definitively cracked it yet. And in Renaissance art, people examine works by Leonardo da Vinci or Michelangelo for cryptic symbols suggesting they inserted messages about religion, science, or even hidden teachings. While it's true Renaissance artists place symbolic elements in art, claims of major conspiracies does remain unconfirmed. And in modern times, we have the U.S. dollar bill. It's long been said to bear Illuminati or Masonic symbols like the pyramid with an eye. Officially, these references to the nation's ideals and the eye of providence. A lot of folks see deeper meaning, pointing to Latin phrases and the shape of the Great Seal. Then there are barcodes or QR codes. Some conspiracy fans claim that barcodes or QR codes encode messages or even the number of the beast. Standard interpretations are just ways to track products. However, the repeated pattern of stripes and squares can spark occult speculation. And corporate designs, of course, raise interesting speculation. As with subliminal messages, certain logos or brand names might incorporate hidden references, whether to mythic or occult ideas, or people debate if a designer used them intentionally or if it was purely aesthetic. And throughout history, codes serve practical purposes, hiding military plans, securing trade secrets, or enabling secret communications. Groups like the Freemasons or other fraternities use symbolic imagery to identify members and keep rituals private. The difference is that conspiracy believers think these codes also appear in the public sphere to boost control or to further an agenda. Some folks argue that a certain design in the city's layout, like Washington, D.C., is shaped to form Masonic symbols. Historians say these patterns can be coincidental or relate to the personal taste of the planners. And of course, there are certain examples of these alleged hidden codes that are often referred to by conspiracy theorists, especially in Disney films. Watchers claim Disney animators slip adult references or coded shapes into kids' movies. Occasionally, small jokes or rumored images have been found. However, the official stance is that most are unintentional allusions or a few pranks by rogue artists. And then, of course, there's the ever-present music lyrics. Fans sometimes find acrostic or letter patterns in lyrics. If you take the first letter of each line, it might spell out a secret word. In many cases, that's done as a playful Easter egg or a creative flourish, not some kind of grand conspiracy. And street guides and grids and monuments. Certain city designs are rumored to form pentagrams and owls or other occult shapes when viewed from above. And the creators might have done this on purpose, or it might just be the geometry of roads and circles. Interpretations can vary widely. So why do these hidden code claims endure? Number one is human pattern recognition. Our brains love to spot shapes and connections. Apophenia and pareidolia leads us to see meaning in random data. And, of course, hidden codes imply somebody else has secret knowledge and power. People who don't trust mainstream explanations may assume these codes prove that powerful insiders communicate behind closed doors. In a conspiracy mindset, if a design or text might be interpreted in multiple ways, a suspicious interpretation is often chosen. And historically, codes and ciphers truly have been used by spies and secret societies or clandestine groups. Finding them in modern times can feel like uncovering lost secrets, even if the message might not be as grand as some might imagine it to be. Sometimes hidden codes serve an innocent function, like watermarks on documents or subtle design choices to prevent counterfeiting. Other times, they can be Easter eggs or private jokes by artists. While conspiracy theories expand these simple facts into major illusions of global control, it's also true that secrecy is an age-old tactic. The line between real hidden messages like coded intelligence and imaginative leaps like seeing random patterns in city maps can be blurred. And both subliminal messages and hidden codes revolve around the idea of an unseen layer shaping perceptions. They suggest that a small group or entity can quietly direct mass thought or keep critical information away from the public. Some conspiracies blend the two notions, saying that text or images are coded with instructions and that these instructions are delivered in a subliminal way. Music videos especially might contain cryptic images that go by quickly, acting as both a hidden code and a subliminal suggestion. And this all ties back to a greater unease about manipulation, whether commercial, political, or something even more sinister. Critics say this unease can become paranoia, leading people to see conspiracies everywhere. Believers counter that it only seems paranoid until a genuine hidden message is exposed. History does show that covert persuasion and coded communications do exist, although usually at smaller scales and grand conspiracy proposals. The tension between possibility and improbability often keeps the topic open-ended. Well, there's been many stories about mind control and various things placed in our water. Fluoride is one of the big topics. Society has always debated the safety of what we consume, whether drinking or eating. Water is our most basic need, and food we eat fuels our bodies. Some conspiracies claim that hidden agendas of substances in water and genetically modified organisms, or GMOs, might control minds and reduce resistance or harm health. We're going to talk about two controversial topics in the time we've got left today. Fluoride added to drinking water and genetically modified crops. Some see these as public health measures or progress in farming science. Others fear they are tools for mass sedation or deeper manipulation. We're going to see how these ideas took hold, see what evidence has been put forth, and why critics often push back. So the first question is why fluoride was even added to the water. In many countries, small amounts of fluoride is added to public water supplies to help prevent tooth decay. Supporters note that fluoride strengthens tooth enamel and reduces cavities, particularly in children. It's considered one of the major public health advancements of the 20th century in places where it's practiced. It's not universal by any means. But from its start, water fluoridation faced suspicion from groups who saw it as forced medication or, in extreme views, a method of controlling the population. You know, the fear got its start in Cold War fears. In the 1950s, some Americans claimed that fluoridation was a communist plot to weaken the country's resolve. Hollywood films and certain political figures played on the fear that chemicals in the water could make citizens passive or even open to ideological influence. And then there was also a fear of possible health risk. Over the years, some scientists and activists have pointed to studies suggesting too much fluoride might cause bone issues or reduce the IQ. I point you at Congress for that theory. They say that while mild fluoride can protect teeth, nobody checks how much each person consumes daily. The argument might accumulate in the body, leading to unknown side effects. And then, of course, there's a fear of government overreach. The other angle is that adding anything to water, even if it's beneficial, ought to be a personal choice. Once the government controls the water supply, they can quietly raise and lower the fluoride level to test mind manipulation strategies. And believers claim that fluoride dulls the brain, making people more obedient. They cite anecdotal reports of feeling foggy or less energetic. Some also connect fluoride to the pineal gland, a small part of the brain sometimes linked to spiritual or intuitive sense. According to them, fluoride calcifies the pineal gland, reducing free thought and higher awareness. Excuse me, I don't know why I'm coughing this morning. Mainstream scientists generally see these as unproven claims. They note the level added to the water is well below toxicity thresholds. And most dental and medical groups say fluoride is safe in recommended amounts. They point out that community-wide improvements in dental health might have been observed in places where fluoridated water. However, some regions have ended and reduced fluoridation due to public pressure and new research. Opponents interpret these policy changes as partial admissions that fluoride might be harmful, while supporters see them as political, not scientific choices. Even decades after it began, the debate still rages on. Public hearings on water fluoridation can be heated, while one side bringing data about cavity reduction and the other side citing long-term harm or moral objections to forced medication. In the conspiracy realm, fluoride is often placed among other chemical control theories, like chemtrails or forced vaccinations. The main difference is that fluoride is openly acknowledged by governments. The question is whether its real purpose is what officials claim or if it's a cover for mental suppression. Then we've got GMOs, which has been in the news quite often. So you have to ask yourself first, what is a GMO? It's a genetically modified organism. These are plants, sometimes animals. The genetic makeup has been changed in a lab to achieve traits like pest resistance, faster growth, or better nutritional content. Farmers and biotech companies see GMOs as a way to feed a growing global population, reduce pesticide use, improve crop yield. Critics worry about ecological impact, corporate control of seeds, and unforeseen health consequences. In conspiracy circles, GMOs take on an even more sinister dimension: mind control and behavior manipulation. Well, there's a number of origins for the GMO conspiracy theories. First, companies holding patents on GMO seeds can restrict how farmers use them. This has led to fears of a monopoly over the world's food supply. One corporation essentially owns the seeds for a staple crop. People fear it gains the power to shape entire nations. And there are mystery chemicals, of course. Some GMOs are engineered to work in tandem with specific herbicides or pesticides, raising questions about chemical residues in food. Conspiracy theorists take it further, wondering if these modifications could slip psychoactive substances into the food chain. Well, on that note, we've come to the end of today's show. We've run out of time. We'll be back tomorrow and talking about more interesting stories. Until then, this is Ken Hudnall for the Ken Hudnall Show, saying have a truly great evening.